We are live. Welcome or welcome back to Transaction Care. My name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. Like the flower because we are learning and growing together. Every week, I go live at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so mark your calendars if you are watching the replay. And I discuss all things real estate, business, mindset, as well as open the chat, keep the floor open for Q&A, question and answers so I can help you all in real time because I understand, maybe you're on the fence about working in real estate, maybe you're still unsure, or maybe you're just lacking some confidence and need some clarity from someone that has been in the industry for the past 22 plus years. Yes, this started as a college job, turned, thank God, a career, a business, and I'm still doing it, but not without exploring other avenues and just testing my interest and putting all of this to work. And going live, creating content is a part of that journey that I absolutely love, alongside coaching and mentoring. So if you're interested in any of that, visit my website, transactioncare.com. That's where everything, and I mean everything, lives in order to work with me, to learn about my services. And when I say work with me, I mean one on one from a coaching standpoint. I don't mean working with me on my team. I am a team of one and I am the one. So today I want to get into, I want to continue the conversation that we had last week, but also making sure that, sorry, I'm fixing my lighting. Don't worry. Making sure that, you guys are staying on top of your goals and simply keeping the promises that you've set out for yourself, because it's so easy to lose track of time. It's so easy to want to do something or to need to do something, but not necessarily knowing where to start, how to start, um, when to start. But ultimately, it comes down to, how are you breaking down this bigger plan or this bigger goal into smaller, digestible steps, actionable steps, as well as making sure you're taking care of yourself, making sure you're taking care of, your priorities alongside of this journey. And for those wanting to be a transaction coordinator, what steps have you taken to make this happen? Because it is a journey. It is a journey. Anyone can do it, but not everyone does it. Anyone can do it, but not everyone does it. And I want to make sure that if I can be of service, of help to any capacity, that I am there for you all, as best as I can. Whether it's listening to what you guys have to say, different, developing different services or offerings. Because right now, what I offer is these live streams, weekly content. I interview other real estate transaction coordinators, but I also have group coaching, one on one mentoring and coaching as well. So I'm doing my best to make sure, in making sure that I'm available, but also just, giving you all what you need, not just throwing stuff out there for the sake of, you know, filling in the gaps. Because I could say, here's this, but it's nothing you guys actually truly want. I'm about to go live on TikTok, so let me set that up right now. TC Live, office hours. TC office hours. There we go. Done. We're live. Let me say, got it. So who's all in here? I know we just got started. Have you guys watched this week's vlog? I'm cranking out this content, guys. Okay, I'm working hard. I might take a week off in September because of the holiday, just to regroup and reassess, because I have a lot. I have a lot of ideas that I want to execute, but I also know I need time to, take a breather, because I've been consistently going. I'll probably still drop new content, but it'll be pre-recorded. And then I'm just going to give myself time to reassess what's going on, because I really feel like a lot of you want to be transaction coordinators, but you don't need to be a transaction coordinator. And I want to be able to create resources that can help you decide and realize, actualize what it is you actually want to do and need to do. And let me write that down. A lot of you want to be a transaction coordinator, but you don't need to be a transaction coordinator. Does that make sense? Is it clocking? Is it clocking to you guys? Does it make sense? You want to be a transaction coordinator, but you don't need to be. And this goes down to, what are your interests? What are your passions? What are your hobbies? What skill sets do you already possess that we can emphasize and draw more attention to rather than you starting over completely from scratch, which if that's the ride you want to go on, totally fine. I'm not going to discourage you from that, but if you realize, after trial and error that transaction coordination maybe wasn't for you, but it did spark something in you to realize, okay, I know it's not transaction coordination, but having this conversation, having this one-on-one with me or other people made me realize I really have a passion for helping people. And right now, the way my life is set up, I want something flexible, remote. Okay, great. It's all about clarity, right? Starting there. What do you need? What are you trying to accomplish in this next season of your life that is going to pay you, but also energize you? Because when stuff hits the fan or when stuff isn't going so well, is this a field that you want to continue working in? And the reason I'm able to speak from both sides of, okay, here's the life of a transaction coordinator, but here's the life outside of transaction coordination is because I have explored my interests. I have explored other areas that I want to be more invested in, such as coaching, content creation, going live. You know what I mean? And if I didn't experiment or tell you all that I'm doing these things, whether it's a lot, you know, whether it's full time or part time, weekly, monthly, it never would have happened. So this is me being an example of putting my words into action. Um, because truthfully, it's so easy to hop from job to job, and the feelings and the emotions that you're searching for, that feeling of fulfillment that we're often searching for, is disguised in fear. It's hidden behind our insecurities or our inability to set boundaries. And I've noticed what has kept me self-employed for 8 plus years consistently, even through the hardest times, even through the dark times, even through the slow seasons, even the season when things were good. um, what has kept me going is knowing that regardless of whatever situation I'm put in, I believe, trust, and know for me that I'm capable of doing anything and that I'm willing to try and do whatever it takes to maintain this lifestyle that I've built for myself. And if to me, worst case scenario is having to get a job. But on the flip side of that, is it really the worst case if it's going to help me? Right. And here's the part about maturing, growing up, changing your mindset is if I'm not happy with the current situation I'm in, just because I have skills in this one area of real estate, it doesn't mean I can't go try a different industry, but I can now tailor a job or find a job, filter out a job that aligns more with what I'm seeking, the desired outcomes that I want, not just the money. Do I need money? Yeah, don't we all? But there's certain things that are not worth the paycheck doing over and over again. If it's stunting me or if it's holding me back from actually accomplishing what it is I'm trying to accomplish. But at the same time, I have to push towards like, keeping my promises and committing to the decisions I make to be self-employed. I talk about this all the time, but I talk about that 1 year where I did no marketing. I was like I was in between becoming a coach, getting certified and learning what that life is about, and then wanting to get out of transactions. So instead of approaching this like a real entrepreneur, a real business person, I just went off of vibes. I just went off of feelings and emotions. And to an extent, I needed that. I needed things to just fall apart. I needed things to just go away for a minute. But the repercussion of that decision is, yeah, now I am, exposed financially. Now I am exposed, like, my insecurities, the shame and regret of many of the decisions I've made, or um with not making money, because I did have that time where I wasn't really generating a lot of income. I mean, even now, I think this is probably the quietest it's ever been. But the deceitfulness, not deceitfulness, the way real estate keeps you busy can trick you into thinking, you know, you're so busy, you're so busy, when in actuality it's like you've kind of just been in the same spot, haven't really gone anywhere, moved out of this situation. But maybe I'm projecting because I've been doing this for 20 years and trying to get myself out of my own rat race is something that, doing these live streams or creating a community on Patreon, starting group coaching, that has stretched my comfort zone in a way that I needed. Like, I needed to do those things. I needed to feel what it's like to constantly promote myself, constantly market myself, constantly tell people what I'm doing, and trusting that, okay, if my imaginary number is for every 100 people, I'll get one new customer, then my goal and my focus should be contacting those 100 people, whether it's posting 100 videos or DMing 100 people, sending 100 emails. It's all about sticking to the commitments that I'm making versus blindly just saying I'm going to do something and then waking up every day without a plan. There has to be some sort of strategy and planning in all that we do, especially with transaction coordination. That's a big leap. It's a big leap. But if you're trying to do this sooner than later, what are you doing today to make it happen? Have you worked with any coaches? Have you found any courses that align with you? Do you know people in real estate that you can reach out to and ask for help? Are you on a budget? Are your funds unlimited? Is your timeline quick? Is it soon? And this is where the clarity part comes in. This is where knowing your next steps is important, because it decreases that amount of overwhelm and time wasted when you're just sitting here spiraling and frantically panicking. That's something I realized this weekend. So the past excuse me, I don't know why I don't have water. But the past couple of weeks, I realized that I've been this is just like I'm kind of just like still processing and like figuring all this out, right? But basically, I keep struggling with money, but not in the sense that how do I break this down? I'm struggling with like my relationship in my mindset around money. That's what I'm struggling with. That's what I realized. And I set out for the past like 2 to 3 weeks to really like track myself. Not like how much I spend. I'm good there. I'm disciplined there. I know my numbers. I know how much I need to make. I know how much, it costs to purchase things. I'm not undisciplined in those areas. Like I don't go like retail shopping does nothing for me. If anything, it stresses me out because now I'm just like, do I really need these clothes? Can I wait till Christmas when things go on sale? You know what I'm saying? Then I have to make sure, I donate stuff to get rid of it and make space. So I'm not struggling there. The struggle is, why do I constantly panic anytime the market slows down? Okay. Why am I constantly scrambling at the last minute to make up like new business services that I can sell, sending emails at the last minute? Like, why are these things not already put in place and active? And why don't I trust the work that I've already invested in and put in? Why do I, the moment I experience adversity at the first side of adversity, I'm so quick to like jump ship. And that's the money struggle that I've been battling with for maybe years. And I think in the beginning of my journey, that drove me into just working, working, working. But then when I got tired of working, 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 and I cut my clients, I cut all of that down. So now I'm not making as much money, but I'm also trying to find my way through this whole process of like, what is it that I really, really want to do? Let's not play any more games. Like if I could create a job for myself, if I could go into an industry or pick a different path for myself that eventually at some point I hope to God will pay me, what does that look like? And I think that's the beauty about life is even through your struggles, even through your battles of, trying to figure life out, is we can create and build what it is that we absolutely want to do. And it took me a very, very long time to identify like my habits and my patterns in this season of my life because I like spent all of my savings. I cashed out my stock. So there was like a year and a half where I was just living off of savings. And then when that disappeared, I was like, and it's so crazy because I don't know why I do this, but I'm just like, just throw it all away. Let's start over, start fresh. But this weekend, I had a breakthrough with like, yeah, I scramble too much. And as soon as I realized that, because I sat here in this exact spot over the weekend trying to figure out, just refreshing my list and like trying to figure out new ways that I could make money. Fill in those gaps where I don't have to experience these spaces where nothing is happening, right? Like once again, kind of avoiding certain emotions and certain feelings rather than facing them head on. And I sat here and I was like, okay, what if I do this? What if I do that? Like, let me show you my notebook. Like I was just like scribbling, like, okay, what if I do this? What did I write? I wrote like, okay, Monday. Like I was like writing the same thing over and over again. And I was like, okay, let me redo my schedule, hold the standard. It was just like 2 pages of just like notes that I did, writing numbers. If I charge this, the type of vlogs I want to do. I wouldn't call this brainstorming. I would call this more like brain dumping. And I realized I was like, this page has like so many things on it, like none of it makes sense. And once I like brought my head back to the surface, I realized, stop scrambling. Okay. Just stop scrambling. At least for the next 24 hours. Let yourself have the weekend. Let yourself just be present this weekend and not scramble for solutions. There, your prayers will be answered when they're meant to be answered. Trust in all of the seeds that you have already planted to grow and to work out when they need to for at least the next 24, possibly 48 hours. How about that? And even last week, I was trying not to I was like, "Let me just get through my to-do list without adding another new project to it." And anytime I feel stressed about money, let me replace that with, like, gratitude. The other thing was, like, let me not add new things to my to-do list. Let me complain a lot less. So feel free to incorporate this into you guys' routine if you'd like, but, um, doing the projects that I said I was gonna do, then not adding new tasks or new ideas to my plate, finish out the ones I already have created. Um, what was the other thing I just said? Not complaining, decreasing the amount of times anytime I found myself complaining, I would, like, take a deep breath and say, "Lil, stop complaining. Stop complaining." Or anytime I felt reactive, anytime I felt like, um, being petty or saying something rude, because I also have another account that social media platform that I manage that is more related to, like, sports and the WNBA. And in that area, in that realm of my life, there's a lot of comments, like, back and forth of people, like, rage baiting me, being mean, and a lot of the times I just wanna react. I wanna clap back. But I also realize, like, that's not the brand I wanna build. That's not the identity I want to carry in this space. And that combined with this, I was like, "Okay, just delete the comment. It's bothering you. Like, it's taking you like, it's going in like, these emotions are going into your day." And I have to sneeze. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, TikTok, you had to hear my sneezing, but I hope I muted you guys here on YouTube. If you're on TikTok, make your way to YouTube. Everything is under the name Transaction Care. I'm currently live on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/transaction care. Thank you. So, yeah, just like challenging myself to complain a lot less. Thank you for hi Rosie. Hi Aaron. um I was outside earlier today, so I think my allergies are starting to catch up to me, but basically, yeah, doing my best to not add more work to my plate and trusting the work that I'm already doing. And in these times where I feel like I need to make more money, I need to, you know, I don't like how this feels. I don't like how uncomfortable I am. Like, yes, it's okay to like challenge that adversity, but not at the expense of what's already working. Does that make sense? So it's okay to challenge your adversity, but not at the expense of what is already working. So I have a tendency of self-sabotaging. So to me, that's where that's rooted in with me. So for a long time, I've wanted to grow my YouTube channel, this YouTube channel. But I also kept telling myself this story in my head of like, well, I don't want to box myself in. I don't want to only do real estate stuff. Like, I want to be cool. I want to be one of those YouTubers that you follow in their day to day life. And, I'm vlogging all over the world, blah, blah, blah. But it just wasn't working. Like, it wasn't working. And what was working? This channel. Every time I posted here, like the numbers would just grow. And statistics aside, vanity metrics aside, people started reaching out, wanting help and asking me questions. They're curious. And mind you, I didn't start this channel to become a coach. I didn't start this channel to become a mentor. I didn't know. I just saw that there was no content on social media about transaction coordination, something I had been doing for years and years and years up until that point, 10 plus years. All I wanted to do was share my journey and provide an inside view as to what happens on my day to day. I didn't realize that people were going to be curious and want to do this as well. the little part of me that understood, like, there are people out there that are doing this or maybe wanting to do this, um, I looked at them as like, I didn't think I'd be, like, working alongside them, if that makes sense. Like, I just did this to talk about what I did. I didn't realize that it could manifest into, like, becoming a coach or a mentor in this space. Even though at my heart and my core, I did wanna help people. So if they ever were unsure about what to do, they could just watch one of my videos passively. That's what I was trying to articulate. Creating this channel, I thought this would be more of like a passive line of work to where you come to my channel, watch videos, and I go about my day and you go about your day, but then the comments started to become more and more. And I said, let me just create a Calendly. Here's my Calendly link. Let's talk. Then I realized in my business that I was kind of struggling with the transactions and this and that. And that's what led me into doing this now. So because now that I'm finally taking YouTube and coaching and mentoring more serious, the fact that the pace in which it's going is not as quickly as I had anticipated, I panic, I stress, I scramble, which is, what brought me to this weekend and thinking like, "Oh my god, you keep scrambling. Just trust that this is all working. You don't have to add more things to your plate." Which is why I also had to challenge myself every time I was complaining. Let me replace that with something nice to say or don't say anything at all, okay? And I noticed when I complained a lot less, more opportunities found me. I also have an eBay store. So if you guys haven't watched my recent vlog that I posted yesterday, and we talked about this in last week's live stream, but I was talking about multiple streams of income. For me, I like a variety. I don't like to be tethered to one particular lane. 10 years ago, yeah, I was all TC. I was TC all the way. But fast forward now, um, some time has gone by. I want to try and experiment different things. And I understand, like, maybe financially, a lot of people don't have the ability to do that. But look, YouTube is free. You know what I'm saying? Like, Patreon was free to set up. My Calendly is free. I sought out the free resources. Before I need to invest and pay for more storage or more services or platforms, I focus on what is available and free to me now. And that has made a world of a difference. But in those moments where this weekend I found myself scrambling to like, okay, another week went by and I'm still not monetized on YouTube. Oh my God, another week went by. I still haven't booked another coaching client. Oh my God, everything's falling apart. Oh my God, okay, what if I discount this? What if I add this other service? What if I make it half off and then just cut the weeks in which I offer the services? Instead of 12 sessions, what if we do 4 sessions? And oh my God. I don't know. Does anyone else scramble and panic like this? Let me know in the comments because during the week, my mind is occupied. There's stuff to do almost every hour of the day until it's time to go to bed. On the weekends, I intentionally don't work. I intentionally don't respond to emails. I intentionally don't talk to clients. But lately, because I've just been home alone, in my head, in my feelings, in my thoughts, I find myself entering into these loops, into these spirals, which causes me to scramble to create something new without any real plan or intention. And I've thrown enough things at the wall at this point in my career that I already know what's going to stick. But my impatience and my agitation gets the best of me. And that's where the stress, the scrambling, the chaos, the panic planning comes into play. So, yeah, that's just been like what this past week and a half has been like. And having that breakthrough on Sunday, sitting here at this desk, realizing, okay, you're not getting anything done. You're not getting anything accomplished sitting here refreshing, your budget, refreshing, just writing gibberish on a piece of paper. Just because you have a piece of paper on the side of you with the pen doesn't make you productive. Okay. So I said, what do I have to do? What work is on my to do list that I haven't done yet? And I realized, oh, I haven't edited next week's vlog. Let me go and edit next week's vlog. And I did just that. And I felt so much better versus sitting here for an hour complaining, stressing, worrying about what I'm gonna do. What do I need to create next? What else can what can keep me, what can keep me busy? Because during the weekends, I'm just like in my head all the time. And mind you, the next few weekends for the next few weeks, my nephew starts football. So I'm going to be occupied on the weekends and I'm not going to be in my head as much. You know what I'm saying? And all of this is just stories I'm telling myself that I have the choice to believe or not believe, right? But I've come to realize like I cannot procrastinate on what's already working. You know, as I said earlier, it's okay to challenge your adversity, but not at the expense of what's already working. And I have to also accept it's going to take time for this stuff to build and grow out based on how I see it fit. Because even if one of my videos were to go viral, right? Great. It's like going to a casino and hitting a jackpot or a nice chunk of change here and there. Who's to say it will happen again? I don't know. So I have to be prepared and come at this with the same energy, whether it does well or it only gets a couple of views, and just keep building and growing from there. But I also know I have to be prepared for when it does hit, for those that do, the new wave of people that are going to come in here. But anyway, it was definitely like a roller coaster of emotions the past week and a half. And then realizing this weekend that I scramble for answers instead of just finding the answers in what is already working. And if you're struggling out there with trying to figure out your life or what you need to do, it's like just break that emotion down. Okay, what is hurting you the most right now, or what is holding you back the most right now? And what is the opposite of that? Is it more action? Is it inaction? You know what I mean? Sorry, I have something in my teeth. But yeah, that was just where my head has been lately. And yeah, just doing my best to not get too ahead of myself. And then finding, just little ways here and there to maintain and be present and not be scrambling all the time. Like, just let me take a step back and actually trust the process for once. Let me actually trust the process. You know what I mean? So I needed to like step away this whole weekend and just let things unfold as were intended to unfold, instead of me trying to control it all, or instead of me trying to dictate like what to do next and like fill in the gaps that aren't necessarily gaps. It's just the space for my dreams and my goals to breathe and grow. I don't need to be busy to be productive. Productive can mean just sitting back and waiting for it to all finally work. Everyone's different, but yeah. So how are you all? How's everyone doing in here? Say hello if you're in the chat. If you're on TikTok, I'm gonna log out. Make your way over to YouTube. Thank you for being here on TikTok. But I'm gonna close you out now. Okay, so we're just on YouTube, TikTok. Um, okay, TikTok is good to go. Um, but yeah, do you guys have any questions so far? Let me know in the comments. Are you guys feeling optimistic for this next the last half of the year? Are you guys feeling encouraged, discouraged? Let me know because, how can I help you at this juncture of your life? How can I be of assistance or guidance? Um, do you guys like hearing about what I'm going through on a week to week basis? Um, a lot of what I'm talking about in these live streams are rooted in, the video previously released. So it helps to watch the content that gets released so we could talk about that more in depth. But if there are topics that you guys want to know about or for me to discuss in more detail, let me know. What's coming up is this next Monday, I'm dropping another interview, which is going to be a good episode. I really hope you guys check that one out. It's with the VA teacher, AJ, based in the Philippines. He's also a TC. AJ is also a TC here in California. And we've been following each other for a while. We've talked here and there, but I get a lot of questions from people wanting to get into this industry. And I always recommend like start as a virtual assistant, start as somebody's assistant. You don't have to rush into being a transaction coordinator because that's a big responsibility and a lot to manage when you have no experience. And if you start off slow, as a virtual assistant or a part-time assistant, whether it's remote, in person, hybrid, that is the quickest way to fast track your career, your real estate career. Because I'll tell you this much: the books are great, the courses are cool, but nothing will ever beat just doing it firsthand. I did a podcast interview a couple years ago with one of my realtor friends, and he was telling me, I always like to ask people like, what was your first or few transactions like? What were they like? Because a lot of people I interview have been doing this. They're just getting started, or they're like 5+ years in the game, right? So I always like to ask them, how was the beginning for you compared to now? Oh, my video is spotty. Maybe because I was on. Let me close my TikTok. Usually around this time, it starts to act funny for no reason. How are we doing now? Put a 1 in the chat if we're okay. If we're back to normal. Let me know. Let me know. Are we okay now? I did see it slowing down and glitching a little bit. But put a 1 in the chat if we're okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, cool. So I asked my realtor friend, I was like, do you remember your first transaction? And he said, yeah. I had to basically break into the house to get inside because I didn't have a key. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I had to find a window and like look for it. And I was just like, oh my God. But basically, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm not telling anyone to break any rules or break into any homes. None of that. Like, don't break any laws or rules to get anywhere. What I'm saying is he had to be resourceful in that moment. And if you're wanting to become a real estate transaction coordinator, if you're wanting to become a real estate transaction coordinator or to um, get into this industry, I think the best way to do it is by um, just working for people. And I know that sounds pretty general because a lot of the times you're like, well, what do I do when I work for someone? I mean, you can look for jobs online and read the job description and see if you qualify. You can also call, email, DM people directly and see, hey, is there anything I can take off of your plate and help you with at this point? I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be trained. I just want to get my feet wet. And I know that's very unconventional. And when I tell people that, I've told people that several times, and they're like, yeah, but I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, you'll learn as you go. But if you start small as someone part-time, full-time, I mean, someone part-time, there's not as much pressure, you know? And if you just say, like, just be honest and say, I don't have that much experience, but, I'm very organized. I have good communication. I'm great with time management. Just use the skills that you already have in order to build that trust, build that confidence. And if you have to take courses or classes along the way, keep doing that. But in this industry, a lot of a lot of a lot of people just started by doing it messy, doing it afraid, not knowing, not really having the keys literally and figuratively inside, but they found a way in. So I know there are probably more conventional routes to doing it as well. I'm not opposed to that either. Find a course, find a coach. Hi, I'm a coach. A mentor. Hi, I'm a mentor. And build from there. But if you're struggling or need money now, ASAP, definitely go watch my video on multiple streams of income because I have a reselling business. I do transaction coordination. I also cover for other TCs when they're on vacation. I'm kind of like a on-call like assistant for another realtor. I don't do a lot of like assisting, but I'll help her like organize her office. I'll help her with some of her property management, like data entry, stuff like that. And I only do that like 3 or 4 times a year. But those little, $50 here, a couple $100 here and there makes a difference when you're low on funds and you're not quite sure what to do or where to go. And I feel like that's a strong enough plan to get you back on your feet in the meantime. Also going, considering like how can you clear your space? Let go of like old clothes, old energy that either don't fit you or just hold too many memories that you don't want to relive over and over again. And once I started making decisions like that, I felt and I could see a difference. Like my life was like improving tremendously because I was choosing to, is it glitchy again? I was choosing to, make those changes for myself. So shout out to you guys for being in here. I'm so grateful each and every week, getting more and more people in here. We're starting from the bottom together. So if you're one of the first like 10 people that have been in here consistently the past few weeks, shout out to you. I'm so grateful. This is a Q&A as well. So feel free to comment, say hello, be respectful in the comments because I've had some trolls. If you were here in the beginning, you saw I had to block some people along the way, but hey, it's all a part of this whole thing. But for those that are curious about transaction coordination, join my community. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and it's free to join, but if you want to become a member, there is a fee. I'm going to pin the chat. I'm going to pin it so you guys can have it. But I offer group coaching, one-on-one mentoring once a month. And that's the best way to get in contact with me directly. If you just have general questions, I suggest you schedule a free discovery call. That's about 20 minutes. Sometimes we go longer. I had a discovery call earlier that was almost 2 hours. Just depends on my schedule or how we're flowing in the conversation. But the point of it all is, making sure I can be a good resource for you all in your journey and providing you with enough information and guidance or just space to talk. I'm also a certified life coach. So I want to be able to help you guys, not just with becoming a TC, but figuring out life. This is stuff I wish I had like 5+ years ago. And now that I'm in this space and really starting to feel confident in where I fit, just making the best of it. And if you guys need help in your area of, transitioning careers or, money struggles, like I talked about earlier, and how I discovered like I scramble and I panic at the first sight of adversity with money. Even if I know money is on the way, but it maybe won't come in on time to cover something else. I panic, I get frantic, I get chaotic. And I have to remind myself, like, just stay the course. Just stay the course. You have so much coming up. You have so much already lined up. Don't waver now. Don't give up now. So consider joining the community. It's a good time. That's where I have my workbook, and you guys can download that, read it, apply it. I tried to make it as I don't want to say universal, but as understandable for any market around the country. I think that that's something I definitely, put a lot of effort into creating, but I definitely know there's room for improvement. So if you guys see what I'm posting on there, if you become a member of the community, feedback is important because I want to improve. If you like something, if you don't like something, if you're having difficulty navigating the platform, let me know, because that's what helps me become that's what helps us improve, is like being open to feedback and comments. Like, even when people are being negative in the comments, I'm just like, okay, feedback. I can block them, and that's it. Move on. But if people complain, if people have issues with anything I'm putting up, or they're not sure how to break it down or navigate it, I'm here. I'm very accessible. Okay. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? I'm probably going to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. It's a chill day. How are we feeling? We have Labor Day coming up, so I hope everyone has Labor Day plans, whether it's to just kick your feet up, go on vacation, go eat at your favorite restaurant, hang out with people you love, including yourself. I hope you give yourself that time to be off for a little bit, because breaks are important. Taking breaks are important. I will tell you this, a lot of transaction coordinators burn themselves out because they bit off too much, more than they can chew. And a lot of TCs have no boundaries. And, I'm covering for a TC right now. Just one file. And I'm actually going to cover for her later when she goes on vacation. But I'm doing one of her files, and her realtor has her doing like stuff I don't do in my business. And I have to respect, like, those are the standards that she's upholding. But in my business, I don't do those things. And if I get any pushback from the other realtor, at least he knows, like, I'm just temporarily covering. And in this situation, okay, maybe I do have to like bend my rules a little bit, because this is not my business I'm running. I'm covering for someone else. But it was just so interesting to see the other side of how other people work when I am covering for them. And basically, I mean, some TCs do this, but when you're managing a large volume of transactions, some stuff I just feel like the realtor should be able to handle that themselves. It just creates way too many steps in between the process. Like, okay, I'll give you guys one example. But basically, we here in San Francisco, we have earthquakes, and we have a disclosure called the earthquake disclosure report. And first off, I noticed that they were already using a version that doesn't work. But because I don't work with this client, I don't manage their files, I made the mistake of not calling it out, and I just let it be, right? And basically, they were using the San Francisco version that doesn't exist instead of the California version. And there's about 10 emails of this seller going back and forth with the realtor about how to fill out this form, what they wanted to say. And in my mind, I'm watching these emails go back and forth, back and forth. And I'm thinking, I could have just sent this form to the seller on DocuSign for him to fill out in like 5 minutes. Why are we now creating this long email thread that's been going on all day when he could have just filled out the form online? So then they finally come to a conclusion of how they want to fill out the form. And then they reach out to me, and I just inherited this file. And they're like, okay, here are all my answers. Can you put the answers on the form and then send it to me for signature? And I was just like, all that time could have been cut down by hours if I had just sent you the form. So now I'm having to manually answer these questions based off the answers that they just gave me, which only took like 1 minute, right? But now I'm at risk of like, well, what if I answer it wrong? What if I miss something? But that is my job to track those things, right? But it's not my job to answer questions for the buyers, even if they supply me the answers. It's just, but this was a special case where the seller was super difficult. That's why I inherited, because he was like, I don't want to work with that other TC anymore. So she called me. And I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Same thing goes when TCs write offers. I just imagine you created 20 more additional steps in this process when we could have cut it down to 2 steps. Now this is a 20-step process that can be handled in 2 steps and not include me. And I just have a different approach when it comes to transaction coordination that a lot of TCs don't. I think sometimes they just get scared to say no, that they're going to get fired or that their TC is not going to agree with that. But you have to remember, you're a business as well. You're offering your services as a business. And I do not cut my fees. I charge the same thing most TCs charge, and I do less. And I don't work after certain hours. I don't pick up the phone calls. I don't answer text messages. I don't respond to emails from after a certain hour. And I don't work the weekends. But I've earned that. You know what I mean? I went through a lot of trial and error in the beginning, but the fact that TCs are still doing that to this day is just like, it doesn't have to be that way, especially if you're handling a large volume of transactions. It gets very overwhelming when you're constantly doing the work that the realtor could have taken in 1 step, and now it's becoming a 20-step process. I don't know. Are there any TCs in here that think otherwise? I definitely want to interview other TCs that think otherwise. So stay tuned for that. I got to go find them. Do you coordinate or wait, do you coordinate the key handoff for closing? No, no. Stuff like that is like the realtor should be doing, or your personal assistant. I'm the transaction coordinator. And sometimes I think the word transaction coordinator, the title transaction coordinator, is very deceiving. Like, if anything, it should be like compliance manager or transaction manager, um, transaction liaison. That's more like a concierge service. So if you are a TC that wants to offer that, I would just charge an extra fee for like additional concierge services. You do that, but wasn't sure. What do you do? Like, what do you mean you coordinate the key handoff for closing? Like, the realtor should be the only one holding the keys. No one else should be. I do everything virtually. So maybe that's a different, like, I'm remote. So I don't meet with clients. I have a strict rule. I do not meet with clients. I don't call them. I don't text them. I keep everything to email. If I have, the only clients lately that I've spoken to are like super type A, very difficult to work with. And even the realtor was like, can you just talk to her just to get her off of our case and to please her, because she just is relentless, or he doesn't, he doesn't trust that, what I'm telling him. Unless you have a license, you should not. Oh, yeah, I don't handle anything that escrow and my realtor can handle on themselves. Yeah. When I worked at an office, the realtors would leave keys at will call, and I would help put the keys in an envelope and then put it in the will call box. And then when someone would come into the office, with identification, and, making sure it was the right person that I'm supposed to hand these keys to them, I would do that. But no, I just handle the paperwork from the contract, the disclosures, inspection reports, um, even scheduling inspections. I don't do that. I used to until I realized a conversation between a realtor and an inspector became another 20-step process because now I'm calling the inspector. Hey, inspector, are you free on Thursday? Uh, yeah, at 11 a.m. Hey, realtor, the inspector's free at 11 a.m. on Thursday. Oh, do they have something at 3? Okay, hang this up. Hey, inspector, do you have anything on 3 at Thursday? No, but I have Friday at 3. Does that work? Hang up. Hey, realtor, do you have any? Does Friday at 3 work for you instead? Do they have Friday at 10 a.m.? Hang up with the realtor. Hey, inspector, do you have anything Friday at 10? I could do 10:30. Okay. No, I don't do that. I tell my realtor, and I explained that to my realtor. I say, hey, this is a 20-step process that we can cut down to 2 steps if you handle this part of the transaction. And I'll tell them like that. I was like, okay, imagine this. I'm on the phone with the inspector. I hang up with them, and then I call you, and then you say, no, that doesn't work. So now I'm spending 2 hours going back and forth on the phone when I could have spent 2 hours auditing your file, and now things are more at risk of falling through the cracks. That's what I say. Don't worry, Joe Marie. Don't worry, Joe Marie. If you need help, schedule a discovery call with me and we can revise your strategy or take some of the overwhelm away. But in my onboarding process, because I went through that early, I did it. Don't worry. I've been through it. I used to do it. I just don't do it anymore. And if that's something a realtor wants, then they can go somewhere else. There are people out there that are willing to work with you and negotiate with you. That's what the whole thing is. That's what I was saying earlier is like you have the power to negotiate and stand firm in what you put out there. Just practice it. Like stick to the standard you have with the realtors you're already working with. But the next clients that you approach or who approach you, try that and see like if they say yes or not. If they say, well, I'm actually looking for someone who's willing to do that, I say, then you can say something like, okay, great. I charge XYZ for my concierge service that includes ordering inspections, um, key close of escrow, key handling. Are you okay with that fee? If so, we can move forward. Don't give them everything all at once. They'll take advantage of you so quickly. That's what I've learned. And if these other TCs are telling you that you have to do all these services, they're lying. They're lying. Because then you start working with jerks and people that take advantage of you. And that's not fun. If anything, just raise your prices and find realtors that are willing to work with you. They're out there. There are good realtors out there. I get, I don't want to make any promises or guarantee, but I'd rather just raise my prices and work with less people. So, keep, if that's what you want to do, do it, but don't be afraid to ask for more money to do it. Or if you feel too overwhelmed because you realize like, do I actually have to do this? This is holding me back, then take it off. So yeah, but Joe Marie, if you're still in here, let me put the link for you guys all to schedule time with me because I help TCs with this stuff too. It's like, here you go. Here's my calendar. But yeah, just schedule something. If you want to meet sometime sooner or on a different date, I'll reply to the email and we could figure out a day that works best for us. But just get on the calendar and we can talk about it if you need help. I'm not saying you need help because maybe it's working for you. But I just know that there are multiple ways that you can run your TC business that, you can uphold more boundaries and um, not take on so much if you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Or, if you're willing to bring someone on and do that as a side hustle where that concierge fee goes to them and you don't have to worry about it, and then you still maintain the standard that you have, you still get your fee, and then that extra $50 or $20, $30, I don't know what you want to charge, $100 goes to someone on your team that doesn't need to make a lot of money, you know? Um, and you can still maintain your standard. Because that's one thing I regret not doing in the beginning of my business is not having a plan to, um, I didn't know how to expand or grow my business because I was too bogged down doing all the services, saying yes to everyone, not setting boundaries, working around the clock, not sleeping, stressing about, sorry, trying to fix my light. I was so overwhelmed those first 2 years of my business that I burnt out so bad to the point where I grew so resentful of this job. I hated it. I hated everything about it. And this is all during the pandemic too. So now I can't even leave and go. I don't have any outlets. I'm just stuck at home in my feelings, in my thoughts, with this job I hate, with people I hate working with. And that's where I started to advocate for myself, where I started to have more boundaries, where I let go of a lot of my business. Today, looking back, I'm like, oh, I wish I still was making that money, but at what cost? You know what I mean? At what cost? I think if I were to go back to what I was doing back then, I would have a much better plan to be effective and to be able to handle that much of work. Um, those first couple of years, I was bringing in, on average, I was closing about 10, like on a good, on a consistent month. There was a couple of months where I had like two, but then there were also months, those first couple of years, where I was making 5 figures a month. The most money I ever made in my entire life in a month. Like dang near half my salary when I worked at a 9 to 5. But I didn't know how to handle it in the beginning. And I ran myself to the ground. And it's to the point now where I'm just like, I'm almost like afraid to do it again because of how burnt out I got. But if I were to start all over as a TC, I would definitely have a stronger structure with my services and definitely like negotiate and not take on everything. Like if someone wanted me to do like their social media, like that's a whole different job. Like that's a whole person's job. Running somebody's social media, that shouldn't be the job of a TC. Even if you offer it, charge extra. Would it be wise to create a brochure of available services to give clients? Yeah, but just know they're not going to read everything. So if you can get on the phone with them, if you can get in their DMs and just highlight your top 3 skills and your prices, and however, if you have any experience, don't forget the experience. If you've never done a transaction, experience can come from life skills, transferable skills from your other previous jobs. Like if you've managed paper before, if you've managed documents, people, all of that works in real estate. If you've ever had a job, all of that transfers into real estate. But just know if you're going to have a brochure, make sure you're sending it like you have a quota of people that you are talking to, and like your target customer. Who is your target customer? And send it out to like or buy ad space to advertise your services or something like that. Um but yeah, Natasha, what else are you doing to promote your business and your services? Absolutely. Do a brochure, do a flyer, do videos, do blogs, do a podcast, do YouTube. Like nothing is holding you back. I say the more the better, but have a system to where it's just plug and play. Like there's apps where you can schedule content. There's if you're going to do content, I would definitely recommend just like creating a separate profile for just real estate. So it's separate from your personal and your business, and don't worry about followers because nowadays it's just about, using it to communicate with people. People rarely in real estate, it's very unconventional. It's like who it becomes a referral and a relationships business. Um Hi Ashira, did I say that right? Ashira says, I suggest TCs start charging agent a minimum fee whether the file closes or not, like 25 to $50, and those concierge services should be separate fee and paid up front. I 100% agree with that. I recently started doing a listing retainer fee where if I'm working on a listing, because here in San Francisco, this is where I'm based, San Francisco, California, we do a lot of listings, very listing heavy out here, but they sell. But in the past couple of years, a lot of transactions have been falling out like more than usual. And you do so much work with listings. The realtor does a lot of work, escrow does a lot of work, the TC does a lot of work, and it goes unpaid because they expire, they don't sell, they fall out of escrow, the buyers back out, like anything could happen. And I said, I'm not taking on any more clients. I'm just not. I gave up. And then I got a referral from a trusted client. And she said, hey, this person's looking for a TC and they asked for you specifically. And because I trust that realtor that gave me the referral, I said, okay, let me give it a chance. But before I impulsively just called that person, I sat here at my desk and I said, okay, if I were to approach this differently to where I'm not doing all of this work, because they were coming to me with a new listing. And I said, okay, I can't go through another 6 months of working on somebody's listing for it to not get sold, for it to fall out of escrow, to expire. So I said, let me try and see if this realtor is open to paying me a retainer fee. And basically what I came up with was if I'm going to work on anyone's listing, it's $100, no refunds, no, regardless. As long as I do all the listing stuff, it's $100. And my fee for listings, let's just say a standard listing, is $500. So my agreement is, okay, if you represent the sellers, it's $100 basically down payment, non-refundable, aka the retainer fee. If it doesn't close and it doesn't expire, if it expires and it doesn't close, whatever, we go on with our lives and I have $100. If it closes, instead of me getting my full fee, I just get the remaining balance from that $100. So if I charge $500, then my fee at close of escrow is now $400 because I got that $100 upfront. See what I'm saying? So I 100% agree with Ashira. So if you're going to do stuff like that, have like a menu that you create. And you can revise it every 6 months if you so feel like it. It's your business. I'm an agent myself and I think it's only right. I'm going to pay my TC something even if it don't close. Hello. I told you the good realtors are out there. I just said there are good realtors out there. We have one in the comments. Everyone say hello to Ashira. Ashira, where are you a realtor? What state? If you're still in here. I appreciate your comments. It's always nice to hear from a realtor's perspective because a lot of realtors, you have to sift through, you have to filter, you have to go through the bad ones to find the good ones and to appreciate the good ones and to keep the good ones. So I'm grateful that you said that and that you agree. It's proof that people are out there are willing to pay you. You just can't be afraid to negotiate your terms. This is not a one-sided transaction. It's a two-way street. I'm interviewing them and they're interviewing me. Riverside. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah. So it goes both ways. This isn't this isn't just them hiring you. You have to get yourself out of that 9 to 5 mindset that I go into an interview because I need to get hired, so I need to do my best impression of the best version of me. So do they. I have questions that I'll ask. Let me think. I like to ask a realtor. This will help you guys too. But I like to ask a realtor, what do you have in your pipeline? What do you close on an annual basis? What are you anticipating for the next 2 quarters? And that'll give away a lot of like the type of realtor that they are, um, if they're actively working or if they're just hiring you just to fill the role. So if and when they do get business, whenever that is, a year now, 2 years, 10 years from now, they'll have you. But sometimes you don't want to spend too much time with a client that's inactive or that's not putting in the work. Um, yeah. So questions like, yeah, what do you have in your pipeline? And guys, feel free, what do you guys ask in your onboarding process, or what do you like to be asked, or um in order to, get aligned with the right people. But I definitely want to know, what do you anticipate and what are your goals? I'll ask them, like, what are your goals for this year? Like, what is your top priority? And that also can, you know, give me a lot of information about the type of person that they are, the type of entrepreneur that they are, the type of business that they're running. I'll always ask, you know, what brokerage do they work for? Does that brokerage have support? Does that brokerage have a compliance department? Because even though me as the TC, I'm responsible for, cross-checking, making sure signatures and initials are there, making sure that everything in our checklist is in the file. It still helps to have a compliance department because they will catch things that maybe we missed, or maybe um, they're aware of that I'm not aware of. The thing about realtors is sometimes they forget to CC the TC in the email, so I get left off on a lot of correspondence. Or the realtor will be having conversations with the compliance department, and I have no idea that, like, just recently, 5 buyers were added to a contract. All 5 different entities, LLCs, trusts. It was hard work, but we got through it. But in those situations, I am including the compliance department. Like, "Hey, I just wanna make sure I'm doing this correctly. Has anything changed? Has the process changed? What paperwork do we need for these types of buyers, these types of sellers?" Even if I know and I've done it before, I always like to just double check if it's something that intense, because I don't wanna it's not my responsibility to, um, approve the file. And anytime a document is kicked back or rejected, I don't take it personal. I just add it to my list for the next round of audits. And I do 3 audits minimum for every single transaction, and then in between those big audits, I'm doing, like, micro audits, because some days you'll get documents and some days you won't have to touch the file. But once you know and understand the flow of a transaction, being in this industry becomes a lot easier. It's the sales part, it's the business management, it's your time management, it's your energy, it's your structure, your systems that will determine if you're gonna succeed or not long term. But I'm trying to think of other questions that I ask when I'm working with a realtor, or what where I'm like when we're interviewing each other. The number one question I get is, "How long have you been doing this? What is your fee? And what do you do? Like, what services do you offer?" And I'll break it down the same way I kind of just told you guys. I'll tell them, like, um, I do my 3 audits. I make sure, I communicate with all parties if necessary. I always check in with my realtor. I check in with you, the realtor, to make sure that I have permission to reach out to our sellers or buyers. I'll always communicate with my realtor and let them know, or I'll ask them, like, when is the best time to contact our clients, or send them emails or send them DocuSigns. Because I got in trouble early on. I don't work with this team anymore. They were weird. They were too much. They're so picky. I sent an email to a client at like 5 something, 5 p.m. Like now, like 5:15, 5:16 p.m. It was on my to-do list. I didn't have a chance to get to it in the morning because I was so busy. I sent the email at around 5 something. No joke. 5 minutes later, why did you send that email so late? Why did they don't, it's too late. Why do I don't, what took so long? And I was just like, you never told me that I couldn't send emails at 5 p.m. It was weird. It was just like they kept moving the goalpost from me. And I said, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to work with them. And I worked with them for like 2.5, 3 years. After a while, I was just like, they're too picky. They're too picky. I don't wanna work with people they also were, like, trying to cut corners a lot of the times. I remember there was a moment where this team tried to, like, cut my fee, but add more work to my plate. I was like, "Nah, nah." But looking back in hindsight, I went through all of that. So now for those that are just now entering into this space or doing it, whether you're a realtor, a broker, TC, virtual assistant, I have so much experience that I know how to handle almost any type of scenario, almost any. I didn't say all, I said almost any, because I went through so much over these past two plus decades. And that's why I love coaching. That's why I love mentoring. I don't have any courses. I don't have courses because I truly feel like if you understand the flow, if you read a residential contract and just start small, you'll figure it out. Hire a mentor, hire a coach. If you could find someone at an office that's willing to train you for free and show you the ropes, there's usually like a lot of new realtors that aren't doing much, that are sitting around in those offices that you guys can learn together. When I worked at my office, well, it wasn't my office, but when I worked at an office and I used to manage the front desk, I used to have my own office, I used to be the office manager. I worked a lot of roles at that office, but anytime we got a new class of new realtors, and they would come like we'd get like 2 to 3 new realtors every month. There were some that just went off, like took off running. But those other few that were just kind of sitting there, timid, afraid, intimidated, just showing up every day at 9 and leaving at 5, like they work there. Mind you, realtors are self-employed, so they were not collecting a check. They were just so comfortable and scared. I don't know what they were doing, but I think they just felt comfortable by showing up to the office and leaving when everyone else left on the staff, but they weren't really putting in the work. If you're someone that's just getting started, but you have that assertive nature to you, you have that aggressive nature to you, but you just need the work opportunity or the people that are in the space to kind of guide you on like the back end stuff of like the programs, the MLS, zip forms, or whatever platform, Lone Wolf, Skyslope.loop, like all of that stuff is really, really easy to use. I always tell people this is not rocket science. That's what I was told when I was first getting hired and trained. This is not rocket science, but it's you being organized and having good time management, not letting things fall through the cracks is what makes you successful in this space and provides longevity and helps you stand out. An email as simple as received, I'm working on it, is the difference between you keeping your client and not, because they panic so quickly. Realtors panic so quickly because they're under a lot of stress. But yeah, this was a good live. This was fun. I'm gonna any other comments, questions? I'm gonna get out of here pretty soon, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to, share your comments, questions. I go live every Tuesday. I go live every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to learn more about myself, my services, visit my website, transactioncare.com. And yeah, I go live every Tuesday, Q&A style, but I also like to have a topic in case no one's in here or if, people really aren't engaging in the conversation. I always come prepared, and I release a new video every Monday. So it helps that, if you watch the video on Monday, 24 hours later, we'll come in here and talk about it. But again, not limited to that. Just, it's just more, you know, more topics for us to talk about versus just kind of winging it every single time. And then I'm playing with adding another day where I go live on Thursdays. I just haven't quite picked the time yet. But for now, let's stick to Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Join my community. The link is posted here in the comments. So quick access, just click on that, sign up. And if you need one-on-one coaching, it's there. If you need group coaching, it's there. I highly encourage those that are still on the fence, but in motion. The one-on-one coaching and mentoring is we meet for 90 minutes once a month. So you're still on your own, but we will have that monthly check-in to make sure you're still on top of your goals. You're still accountable for what you're doing. You're keeping your promises. You're staying on track. But we can also address where you're struggling, where you keep hitting a wall, ways that you can improve your services, your businesses, your consistency, your input and your output, and make this all work. Okay. As a TC, where do you receive your payments from the agent or the title company? It's a mix of both. It's definitely a mix of both. So right now, that new realtor, I don't know if you were here earlier, but I'm currently working with a new realtor that I implemented this listing retainer with. He hasn't had a closing yet, but because I wasn't set up or anything, and I was just testing out this new retainer, I used Zelle. So in those instances, I use Zelle. In other instances, another broker I work with, they have a system within the brokerage to where I just input my fee with the agent paying, and then I hit submit, and then they have all of my information to where they wire me the money directly from the brokerage. And then other realtors I've worked with, I'll submit my invoice to escrow, and I'll get a check from escrow with either my wiring instructions or my home address. So it just depends. I've gotten paid in cash. I've gotten paid in personal check. I've gotten paid Zelle, PayPal. What's the other one? Venmo. As you continue to grow, you can, talk to your accountant or financial counselor or advisor about, um, an LLC or S corp, whatever entity you want to establish your business under. You don't have to do that in the beginning. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so take that with a grain of salt. Do your own research and do your own due diligence. But I was a 1099 for 3 years before I got an LLC, and I make way less now. So truthfully, I don't even need the LLC. But just to separate your funds and stuff like that. But if you are going to keep everything in one account, I would just open a different checking account. So it's not all your personal money mixed up together, and just have it all go to that one bank account for now until you can get a business account. But yeah, I get paid. Just pay me. Just pay me, or pay me no, never mind. But yeah, there doesn't have to be one way, but definitely always have an invoice and have it in writing to where you've requested it in email form, and make sure that they confirm that they've received your invoice. And if they don't confirm, there's no guarantee that you'll get paid. I've seen a lot of scary stories in those Facebook groups of TCs not getting paid. And we don't want that, especially when you've worked so hard. You spend all that time, energy, mental capacity. You want to get paid. So what I usually do, like, unless it's that brokerage that has like the system where I submit it online. Anyone else, I have a template that I use. It's just a Word document with my invoice, how much they owe me, and my, you know, phone number or email to call me. Well, I don't put the wiring instructions on the invoice, but I'll say, please call this number for wiring instructions. Um, please mail checks to this address. But always check with the rules and the laws in your state, in your city, in your county, because everyone's different. I'm just letting you know that throughout the years, I've gotten paid so many different ways. Um, but I prefer to go through escrow. I prefer it all go through escrow if it's still allowed. Because again, things change all the time. But yeah, who's all in here? Say hello before I end the live. This is a good one. Once again, this is one of my favorite live streams. I'll tell you that much. This is definitely one of my favorite live streams. I'm glad you guys found my channel. Are you guys enjoying the interviews? Do you guys like that type of content? Do you prefer I go live? Um, do you like this whole setup so far? And just let me know what can I do to improve or bring more clarity into your journey, because it helps me. It truly does help me to know what you guys need and want versus me just guessing or picking a topic because I think it's suitable when you guys don't even want to learn about that stuff. So join the community, schedule a discovery call with me if you haven't done so already. And this week, before we go live again next week, let's focus on what's something we can focus on this week? I would say complaining less. Yeah, I started this conversation talking about how I'm just complaining a lot less and it's working and being more grateful. So, and if there's something else you guys want to practice this week on your own, feel free to share it in the comments or just write it down for yourself as a reminder. So for me, just continuing to complain a lot less and continuing to be more grateful. So yeah, this has been another awesome live stream. I appreciate each and every one of you who were in here today. Interacting with you guys brings me so much joy, and I'm so glad that I started going live and that more people are starting to come in here and interact. And just remember, keep this in mind. I trust and have faith that all of this is going to continue to grow and, more people are going to come in here. But the 10 of you that were in and out here throughout this whole session, you guys are like the real ones. You guys were here from the beginning. Okay. So stay in touch, stay tuned in. New vlogs every week, live streams every Tuesday so we could talk about this stuff. I can answer your questions. But if you're looking for something more direct, more focused and, amongst more like-minded people, or if you just want to work with me one-on-one, join my Patreon community. That's the best way to reach me outside of these platforms on a more like one-on-one basis, because our group sessions, as they become more established, those will be exclusively in the Patreon app just for those particular members in the Transformation Membership Club. And then if you buy an all access pass, you get access to, all the training materials, as well as you get a one-on-one session with me for 90 minutes every month. And if you've gotten to know me thus far, you know that sometimes those sessions go a little longer than 90 minutes. So you're going to actually get more bang for your buck. And I was offering those services. I still do. If you just want a one-off 90-minute session, it's $90. But if you do it on a monthly basis where you subscribe and get charged, that fee once a month, we'll have those recurring sessions over and over again. It's a better deal. But that's all I'll say on the sales part of it, because I still have to ask you guys, aren't we all fundraising at the end of the day? Aren't we all fundraising? Isn't a job just a fundraiser with a title? But yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions or comments, this was another fun live stream. The past couple of ones were almost 2.5 hours, but I had a long coaching session today and my laptop is overheating. So, and I think I'm starting to glitch again. So I'm going to let you guys go. Reach out to me. Shout out to everyone that was in here. Let me do a quick shout out to Natasha, Rosie, Ashira. Who else was in here? Jo Marie. And I said Rosie and Aaron. Yep, I think I got all you guys. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night. Go catch up on some interviews that I have on my page. I have playlists, so I've made it easy for you guys to access. Rewatch some of my old live streams, but today was honestly one of the best ones. I'm not even going to hold you. I'm probably going to turn it into a vlog in the future. It was so good. But I appreciate each and every one of you for being in here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I think we hit 2,700 subscribers today. Am I tripping? Let me see. That's a win. I'm willing to celebrate. Oh, 2,470. I got my numbers mixed up, but almost just 2,700. So 2,470 subscribers as of today. That's so cool because I was doing this when I had 20 subscribers. Okay. Well, 50, because technically you can't go live until you have 50 subscribers. So I was doing this for a very long time. So to see it, have the growth, you guys are here still in the beginning phases. We're just getting started and your feedback is important to me. So reach out to me. You can email me tc@transactioncare.com if you have any questions, and also follow me across all platforms. I respond to all my messages there as well. I'm here on YouTube, which is my number one platform, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's where you could find me. Also visit my website, Transaction Care, to sign up for my weekly newsletter. It's also where I send, reminders that I'm going live. And yeah, I think I covered all bases. If you guys don't have any other questions, this is the last call for questions in the chat. Thank you again for joining. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you watch the replay, you can leave a comment on the video. I will definitely respond to it. I respond to all my comments, good and bad. So thank you all for tuning in. This is another amazing TC live stream. This is Transaction Care. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon. And my name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily like the flower. And this is Transaction Care. See ya.